Right now, inside your brain, a silent accumulation is taking place. Every day, as your neurons fire and communicate, they produce metabolic byproducts. Among those byproducts, one is uniquely dangerous: a protein fragment called beta amyloid. In Alzheimer's disease, these fragments clump together into sticky plaques that lodge between nerve cells, block synaptic communication, trigger cascading inflammation, and eventually kill neurons. What makes this especially alarming is that this accumulation begins up to 20 years before the first symptom of memory loss appears, which means people with perfectly normal memory today may already be in the early stages of this process. Here is the critical turning point in this story. Your brain is not defenseless. It possesses its own waste clearance system, discovered only in 2012. Called the glymphatic system. During deep sleep, this system opens channels around blood vessels and uses cerebrospinal fluid to flush beta amyloid, tau, and other toxic waste out of brain tissue. What cutting-edge nutritional neuroscience has now established is that specific foods can powerfully amplify this system's clearing capacity. Today's video presents the 3 best evidenced foods for flushing beta amyloid from the brain, with the mechanisms explained, the clinical numbers given, and 3 practical daily recipes you can begin using tonight. Before naming the foods, one foundational fact deserves emphasis. Beta amyloid itself begins as a normal byproduct of neuronal activity. The problem arises when the enzymes that process the amyloid precursor protein produce a specific 42 amino acid fragment, called amyloid beta 1 to 42, at a faster rate than the brain can clear it. These fragments aggregate into oligomers and then plaques. The plaques paralyze synapses, drive neuroinflammation, promote tau protein tangles, and initiate the slow, decades-long collapse of brain architecture. Pharmaceutical anti-amyloid drugs are being studied, and some have shown partial clearance effects. But the challenge of side effects and modest clinical benefit continues to drive enormous scientific interest in dietary approaches that support the brain's own clearing mechanisms. The first food is turmeric, specifically its active compound curcumin. Curcumin is among the most thoroughly studied natural compounds in Alzheimer's prevention research. The clinical numbers are striking. An 18-month double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial, published in a leading geriatric psychiatry journal, tested a bioavailable form of curcumin against placebo in non-demented adults. The curcumin group showed statistically significant improvements in memory and attention scores from baseline, with an effect size of 0.96, which represents a large and clinically meaningful change. The placebo group showed no improvement. In participants who underwent brain PET scanning, the curcumin group showed significantly lower levels of amyloid and tau in the amygdala and hypothalamus, the regions governing memory and emotion, compared to placebo. Epidemiological data from regions where turmeric is consumed daily in cooking show Alzheimer's prevalence approximately 1/4 of the rate seen in Western populations of the same age. The mechanisms are multiple and well documented. Curcumin crosses the blood-brain barrier and binds directly to amyloid plaques, inhibiting their aggregation. It exerts powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects, reducing the neuroinflammation that accelerates neurodegeneration. It also upregulates P-glycoprotein expression at the blood-brain barrier, which is one of the key transport proteins responsible for pumping amyloid out of the brain. There is one critical caveat. Plain turmeric powder consumed alone has very low bioavailability, because curcumin is rapidly degraded in the gut. The solution is piperine, the active compound in black pepper. Research shows that piperine enhances curcumin's bioavailability by up to 2000%, by inhibiting its first-pass intestinal metabolism. Curcumin is also fat-soluble, so consuming it with a healthy fat source is equally important. This is the combination that unlocks its brain protective potential. The second food is blueberries. Blueberries have moved beyond the label of healthy fruit into a category that nutrition scientists increasingly call neuroprotective foods. The key compounds are anthocyanins, the deep blue polyphenol pigments. A double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, published in an international nutrition neuroscience journal, studied older adults with mild cognitive impairment over 6 months. Those consuming wild blueberries daily showed statistically significant improvements in information processing speed compared to the placebo group. A separate study found measurable improvements in task switching ability and reduced memory interference after just 12 weeks of daily blueberry consumption. These are real, quantifiable cognitive gains in people already showing early decline. The mechanisms are layered. Anthocyanins cross the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in brain tissue. They increase synaptic protein expression and enhance neuroplasticity. They inhibit beta-amyloid aggregation and promote existing plaque disaggregation. They stimulate the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which supports neuronal survival and the growth of new neurons. They also increase cerebral blood flow, improving the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to neurons, while enhancing the metabolic clearance of waste products. Research also confirms a powerful synergy when blueberries are combined with omega-3 fatty acids, with the combination producing stronger cognitive protection than either alone. The third food is extra virgin olive oil. Most people think of olive oil simply as a cooking fat, but extra virgin olive oil contains a phenolic compound found in no other food, oleocanthal. A peer-reviewed study published in a leading biochemistry journal provided direct in vitro and in vivo evidence that oleocanthal enhances beta-amyloid clearance from the brain by upregulating two critical amyloid transport proteins at the blood-brain barrier, P-glycoprotein and LRP1. These are precisely the proteins responsible for pumping amyloid out of the brain and into the bloodstream for systemic clearance. A follow-up animal model study found that oleocanthal treatment significantly reduced amyloid and tau pathology in Alzheimer's model brains, with effects observable within 2 weeks. The population-level data reinforces this. A comprehensive analysis found that strictly following the Mediterranean or MIND dietary pattern, both of which center on daily extra virgin olive oil use, reduces Alzheimer's risk by up to 53%. Moderate adherence was associated with a 35% reduction. These are among the largest risk reduction figures associated with any dietary intervention in Alzheimer's research. Oleocanthal is present only in high-quality, cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil and is degraded by high heat. So the most beneficial uses are in salad dressings, drizzled over cooked vegetables, or added to food after cooking. Here are your 3 practical daily recipes. The first is a brain-clearing golden turmeric latte. Warm 200 milliliters of plant-based milk and whisk in half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a small pinch of black pepper, and half a teaspoon of coconut oil or MCT oil to maximize fat-soluble absorption. Add a teaspoon of raw honey and a pinch of cinnamon. Drink this each morning before breakfast or 1 hour before bed. The bedtime timing is particularly meaningful because the glymphatic system activates during deep sleep, and supporting it with curcumin immediately before sleep may help synchronize the body's natural cleaning cycle. The second is a brain-clearing blueberry omega-3 smoothie. Blend 150 grams of fresh or frozen blueberries with 4 walnuts, 1 teaspoon of flaxseed oil or perilla oil, half a banana, and 150 milliliters of unsweetened oat milk or water. This combination delivers anthocyanins for direct amyloid inhibition alongside DHA and ALA from the walnuts and oil. A peer-reviewed study published in the FASEB journal confirmed that omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, particularly DHA, promote amyloid beta clearance from the brain, specifically through enhancing glymphatic system function. Drink this as a daily breakfast or morning snack, targeting 100 to 150 grams of blueberries each day. One final and essential reminder: every piece of information in this video is provided for general health education purposes only. It does not constitute medical diagnosis or treatment, and it cannot replace professional medical care. Several of the mechanisms described here are based on animal studies and small clinical trials, and the full picture in large-scale human research is still developing. Individual responses vary based on genetics, health status, and medications. Turmeric in large amounts can affect gallbladder Function and interact with blood-thinning medications. Olive oil is calorie-dense and should be used in measured amounts. Blueberries affect blood sugar and warrant attention. In people managing diabetes, if you have concerns about cognitive function or memory, please see a neurologist for proper evaluation. The brain's waste-clearing machinery is real, it is active every night. And the foods you eat tonight will either support it or obstruct it. The choice, as always, begins in the kitchen.